gotta catch everybody's attention. We gotta catch everybody's attention. Here we go. So, just to make sure that everybody is back and ready. So you actually, right. So you actually think I'm going to ask about the scenario, and I'm not. I had to give you an assignment. I just had to. What I'm actually interested in is the process. The process in which what's happened, the language that was used, how you all even talked about the scenario, who got to tell the stories, whose stories were heard. Were you able to combine the stories or not? Did some of you tune out and was like, I'm about to be on my phone? Were some of you just like, Tracy, wrap this up? Or stop interrupting me. This is real good right now. I love my group, right? Or were some just like, I'm brand new to this. I'm just trying to figure out what she wants us to do. Right. Oh, go for it. Because actually your group I started with, I felt like there was something going on. Talk about it, because we're going to go to each group just a few minutes. Tell us what happened. So forth.
Well, I think our group was simply amazing. What we did,
There you go.
we really engaged. We had a lot of different scenarios, and everyone got really involved in it and brought up some wonderful different concerns that they had. Really, and we really brought it down to really understanding and listening to one another. And I think we developed a little kinship just in this short period of time.
Oh, that felt so good. Okay.
Another version of
Right. Because I was with this group, and I heard certain language. So that felt so good.
Yeah.
Now, continue telling me what also happened from whomever's perspective.
Well,
Yes.
I will say that we had a little distance at first because somebody brought up an initial situation to talk about, and then
I like how you said somebody. Can we just point to the person? Look, this is how we have dialogue.
situation to talk about,
Right.
and there was like a little break in the discussion right off the bat, like, how are we going to deal with that? And then someone else came up with a completely different thing to discuss, and I felt her feeling of, well, now what happened to my suggestion? You're just going to just jump in there and change it because there's some problem with what I brought up, or what? You know?
So based off of that, and specifically, what language was used? Feel free to actually say what language was used.
Well, I said, you're white and you just changed it.
That's when I walked in. I was like, oh snap. Right? So we have to be real about what that language looks like. And did anybody feel the tension or trigger at all? Did anybody was just like, let me, yes. Right. That's fair. This is what hard discussions are all about, right? Because at that point, you're trying to figure out what to do. And also, let me just be honest. Edie. Anybody want to just make a quick note in terms of how Edie was describing this story?
Carefully.
Carefully, right? Which nothing's wrong with that. I'm going to say nothing. It is an observation based off of what Jeff said or what I'm going to say. Carefully, right? Whatever carefully. Why is that? Why did you say carefully though?
Because it's a problem that white people have in talking about issues, or people of power have in talking about issues. I'm not sure where it's safe for me to go on this, because it's not my issue. And so I've got to be careful. I don't want to offend again in doing it.
So
it's like me going to a rape support group. Well, let me tell you ladies how to feel. That is not going to go well.
Now, interesting that you used that term when I said, why did you say carefully? Because I was thinking also, just from my perspective and lens, that I had to ask you to say who said it, knowing that the person was right next to you, right? So I'm thinking in terms of...
but I didn't, because I wasn't sure that she wanted me to say no.
And that's actually okay. But that's how I saw the perspective of carefully, whereas you saw the perspective of carefully white people. Distinction. Right. This is language, right? So language in terms of how we're viewing this situation. When I say you carefully spoke, for all we know, you could have been like, I wasn't careful. This is how I talk all the time, right? So that becomes important. Excellent. Anything else in terms of observation that you noticed with the group? Was there any resolve? Did it end up being, it was wonderful and there is some kinship at the end?
We had a third idea too.
Okay.
And we just kind of hashed through the ideas, and it ended up being that her idea really was the best idea. And, you know, because we were all kind of like figuring out, what do we have to do with this? You know, what do we have to do with that?
What's their other example?
And so, right, listen.
Disability.
So, right. So race and then
why I said we was kind of cool by y'all because
right, no,
once we really broke it down,
right.
everyone came on board with seeing what disability looked like. I'm talking about institutionally. And I think that was a great coup. That's why I said amazing.
I received that.
I like that word.
Race, disability. Who wants to go next?
I will.
We're talking about the
It's kind of in the same. Ours was, you wanted to say
Yep.
what it was.
In the
Ours
beginning.
was ageism.
Race and age.
Yeah. And so we first kind of fumbled around to find out what scenarios we could come up with that would reflect a scenario. And something that several of us have shared, and that is aging parents and the level of healthcare that they receive based on their age, based on their race. And so the scenario that we came up with, I know you've asked me, but I have to give it to you, is that, you know, we have an aging parent who's admitted into the emergency room, and we're trying to convey to the doctor, who's a foreigner, different person, different ethnic background, the importance of how we want our parent to receive quality health care that they deserve, in spite of being 89, in spite of being 92, where the attitude may be that they're going to die anyway, so they don't get the attention that they deserve. So, so we talk about the language because it's really emotional sometimes. If you got a parent that's, you know, ill and you're trying to convey to the doctor, look, you know, she needs this test. You know, what are you going to do? So we really did not come to a language yet for that, but that was a scenario that we find ourselves in. And how do we, you know, convey to the person that's different from us the importance of what it is that we're trying to say, because it's so critical, particularly, you know, in those instances.
That's an excellent point. Did everybody share in your group?
Yeah. Yes. Renetta
Came up with the idea of
the
parenting.
idea, right. I think she's the only one that didn't have the experience of a parent, right? But I did from a grandparent.
So I identified.
She identified stuff. We all identified.
Let me say real quick, powerful. At the end, what did you notice here? So Phyllis made a point. What did you notice at the end here? Something happened right here between the two and also the group. Phyllis did what? She pointed to who?
The youngest person.
The youngest.
So youngest person, possibly. You know, you can never tell age, right? So possibly the youngest person. But she specifically said what?
She didn't have.
She gave her an out. She gave her an out.
So there's this notion of giving her an out, but I think I heard.
Oh, she didn't have the experience of aging. She was cool.
And then what did she say?
I
She used her voice and said, "Yeah, I may not have that, but just so you know, right? That's an Audre Lorde moment, right? A moment where she's saying, I get that everybody else has that experience, but I actually do have that experience. So she had to speak up at that very moment so that everybody in this room knew I can actually relate, right?
But isn't that what European Americans do at times when we talk about discrimination?
What? I didn't.
Say it again.
Ending words. I didn't.
I said, isn't that what European Americans do at times when we talk about discrimination? That they will say, well, I might not have your experience, but I've had an experience. Now, and why do we dismiss that and include that?
I don't see that.
I'm not, you know what I'm talking about.
like, you go to I don't know, diversity, inclusion meeting. Right. And you have it, and someone, African American, begins to speak about, I've been discriminated against, blah, blah, blah. And then you get a European American that says, well, I'm a marginalized group, I've had this discrimination. Well, you literally pull the attention away from
The real issue.
right. But I'm saying though, we accepted it as okay when, even though she didn't have a parent, and then she said, well, I had a grandparent, and we said, well, oh, okay. So you have had the experience, right? And it's okay when you had a grandparent, with this situation, but there are situations where we have other discussions. And when the European American said, well, I had that experience, you said, oh, nobody cares. So honestly, why did I pinpoint to accept it, in which I actually called it out for anybody who knows who Audre Lorde is, right?
Because that wasn't to take away from that conversation. Where I think if I try and say, I know what it's like, I'm taking, like you explained, I'm taking it away from you. I want that power back. There was no stealing of power there.
In fact, it was more inclusive.
Exactly.
I love language.
It's also based on value and validation.
That's what I do. That notion of, because that's the very reason why I said Audre Lorde, right? This notion of marginalization, sister outsider. So I see a hand over here. We have to get through all the groups. Can we? Okay.
I was just glad that they also included another factor in their group about a foreign doctor. So that presents that language barrier that many of us have to overcome, especially in the emergency room.
Since you brought up the example, how about your group go? I'm gonna hit it.
Oh my God. Looky. Our scenario was presented by Joshua, okay, and I mean immediately stepped up and said, well, I got a scenario I want to talk about.
You have race and religion. Okay. Go for it. And really, if you want to talk about the scenario, that's fine. I'm also interested, we are interested in the process, the dynamics. So the process was that we started right here.
He had the floor, told us what the situation was, and we sat with our mouth wide open trying to. And he told us why he felt. Well, the situation was that he plays baseball. Can I tell it? Okay. He plays baseball, and he's the only African American male on the team. Ages are 14 to 18. Am I telling it correctly? And he had an Arab American, let me say, and how do I say that?
How did you say it?
I said Arabic.
Arabic. Okay.
On the team, and one of the team members referred to him as Burjesus. His name was Burgess.
His name was
Burgess. He referred to him as Burjesus, and so he said he was aware of it. Tell us.
He was like, I kind of think, how does he feel about that? Depending on, if he was Arabic, his religion-wise, how he felt about that, because he didn't really say anything, and then that name kind of caught on to him, and the other teammates started calling him Jesus, and so I was just thinking, how did he really feel about that? Because he didn't say anything, he just kind of went along with it, he kind of ignored it. He never called himself a Jesus. Every time he went up to play, that's what they called him. So.
They also said something about his God, right? Somebody said,
Oh, yeah. And somebody said, oh my God, but then somebody else said, as a joke, no man, oh my Allah. That's what he said.
But as a joke.
But
Did they even know if he was Muslim?
Right.
no, not really.
We presume. So this is the interesting thing, because you made this comment when one of your members started, younger members started, and you were just like, oh my goodness. How did the group feel? Were you just like, wow?
we were mesmerized.
Well, right. Why were you mesmerized?
Because
in the bigger group, they were quiet, right? And he took the initiative and just like stepped into that.
And I actually saw that. Right?
Well, it was like, whoa.
Yeah, and I mean, the example was religion and race, and it hit in like 2 seconds. And then he has this
Right,
perfect story about all the ambiguities of that. So we were like, okay. And then we're just asking him questions to just flesh out the scenario more.
So you focused.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it also points out is that we often dismiss the voices of young people, and they're so full. There's such a wealth of knowledge and information, and we don't give them the opportunity. When given the opportunity to step to the plate, it was right there.
Can I add something right quick? Tell them what I had you doing before I went to Missouri, downtown.
He had me standing downtown, and he had me holding a sign that said "Free Hugs." And so before the free hugs thing, I was kind of embarrassed, kind of like, I don't want to do this, it's kind of weird. And then I said, Granddad, if you was riding down the street and you saw somebody that had a sign that said "Free Hugs," wouldn't you be kind of skeptical of it?
I'd grab you in a second.
But after we got out there, people started giving me hugs. I was like, and then there was a couple of guys. There was guys in business suits and stuff. I was like, nah, he's about to walk by. But he actually came up, gave me hugs, and I was kind of surprised. Some people even got out their car and they gave out hugs as well.
In the middle of the street.
Yeah,
Oh, that is so cool.
so it kind of, and then after we started walking back to the car after we got done, I was kind of like, wow, that was kind of great.
Yeah.
That was kind of great. That was great. Okay, so this is excellent. We have 2 more groups. We're gonna get to it because I know Donna's so looking at me like Tracy. So it's on. Here we go. Your group had race and sexuality. The process. Talk to us about the process a little bit. I'm gonna move over here and whatever else you want to share.
Well, I kind of set the stage and said, hey, we were one family. And I identified for them like she's German, she was Irish, Native American, and I don't know how I got in the family. And somebody said, was you married into the family? And we're sitting at the dining room table for dinner. And the 8-year-old child comes in and says, I have an announcement. Okay, what is it, honey? I'm a boy. She was a girl. And I said, oh. And so we took off from there about how do we include that transgenderism? And so much of it is going on in society now. Well, how do you know you're a boy? Well, you know, how feelings and all of that. And this young lady even brought out how courageous it was of this child to be able to know at the age of 8 that this is what they need to express. And we talked about also how this act of coming to be inclusive also meant that we had to examine ourselves and learn to include acknowledge whatever we were feeling, because some of us might have had an inclination earlier that there was something different about this child. Some of us may have had negative feelings about. So this is how, in addition to the race, which I guess I kind of tangentially represented, the more important issue these days is the sexuality.
Interesting. In your group, what was the dynamics in terms of conversation and people talking and sharing? Like, did everybody across the board equally? And the reason why I mention is because you said you set the tone, recognizing, and this is just me recognizing that Cynthia actually just came in. So in many ways, it kind of changes and sets the tone when you haven't been here, and then I'm just like, here, you're with the group. And I remember saying something like, bring her into the loop. Was there a process that happened that took place, or you just set the tone and started going in? Were you able to share?
I think we'd already set the tone by the time Cynthia got
But
here.
you did bring her in.
But she came on
filled
in,
her in.
yeah.
You filled her in.
Because she gave us some tremendous insights about the strength that it would take for this child
Okay.
to acknowledge its sexuality. And again, what do we refer to the child as? What name does the child want? You know, those kinds of things.
And for anybody else?
One of the things is just saying thank you for that person to have the courage to express that. But in that, if you're not familiar with somebody of that identity, then it becomes you are my first introduction to what this experience can be like. So how do we not only look at that and the conceptions we may have of somebody who's transgendered, and as opposed to saying, coming at it from questions of explanatory, it's more curiosity based. Like, how did you explore this? And thank you for sharing this. So taking that approach to see and
And do
recognize.
you intend to cut your hair? What style clothes
Right.
do you want?
So thank you for sharing. Final comment here, because I know you want to say something, then we're gonna go here.
Oh, just that in terms of our dynamic, I think some of us were struggling because it wasn't a real situation. And
Okay.
so we were, well, what would the family really say? You know, would they really argue and all that? And Cynthia just cut through all that and came in with all this beautiful wisdom about how we could be inclusive with this child. You know, it was
So she cut through the chase. Bring us home, because I know what's.
Our,
No.
okay, well, I'll do it quickly since I know we're running out of time.
Right. Race
Our group-
and you had
Race and gender.
gender.
And we went to transgender as well.
Oh.
Because Carol introduced an experience that she's a professional experience where a young woman really does not identify as male or female, and she was forced to check one of those boxes on a sheet of paper with the state of sense, revise that. But what ultimately Carol found was that the brother of the young woman was defending her at school and was ending up with criminal charges for defending her, while other people were not, the instigators were not being punished, and the school wasn't intervening. And so we collectively as a group picked that apart. We kind of really analyzed, we only looked at that one scenario and we analyzed that scenario, the family dynamics and legal dynamics and all of that.
Let
But
me,
I think we asked probing questions.
so asking probing questions, this is an interesting thing. You said that the person was forced to check a box when the person did not even identify as either one. But I
No.
noticed you used the term or the
Oh, I'm
pronoun.
sorry.
No, that's not right.
She chose.
They were not forced. I asked,
Okay.
would I be allowed to identify them, one or the other, for the sake of record keeping? And they agreed to be identified per their birth certificate
Got it.
and name. So no, they weren't forced to check. At that time, there were only 2 boxes available, M or F. But now, as of yesterday or today, there is another box.
Right.
Does not self-identify. So, but no, I did ask, inclusive.
Exclusively.
What is the other box?
Does not self-identify.
So just to make sure everybody does not self-identify. Any dynamics in terms of your group? Did everybody speak? Especially because I'm looking in terms of gender dynamics.
No.
We didn't allow this poor white man to speak. We were
No, he didn't.
I
picking
did
it
not,
apart.
I did not speak, and this is why. For me,
So just go ahead. No, go.
okay, for me, I think there's a scenario here, and I think these are people's lives, and it's a lot more nuanced than the story I hear, and I'm trying to think through that process. Probably there's a lot of components in it that people are talking about, and processing that it's a long process for me, because for me it's a story, but it's actually somebody's life.
So you were in a listening mode.
Mode, exactly.
Okay, so this is it. We're down to the hour. It's 1 minute. Bob's looking at me. Donna's like, wrap it up. And I'm going to say thank you. This is, like I said, part 2. With, if anything else, you take these conversations, you take the language of inclusion, and you apply it to other scenarios and your outside lives outside of these doors. So,
Thank you.